drashes every week. Should be called. Can you hear me? um, so this always informative teachings and gleanings from our rabbis and teachers and from the Torah itself. Um, and Hashem always puts things that are going through. It seems like the Torah is looking at what's going on in our world and expounding on it, commenting on it. And that is because the Torah is alive, right? So, big thing that we had this week was, shooting death of Charlie Kirk. And one thing that came out this week, I saw a lot in the Jewish zeitgeist, which is a kind of a way to say a culture, was what do we do for, and this was brought up earlier, what do we do for the Gentiles? Do we, treat them equal? Do we say, mourn Kaddish for them? Do we, how do we treat Gentiles? And, there's a, back in the day that, there's two schools of thought in the Talmud. There's the school of Shammai and the school of Hillel. And by and large, we as in Jewish culture go by a lot of stuff that Hillel says, because Hillel is the more lenient of the two. But there's some good things that Shammai says too. He was a good teacher, except he was more of a brash kind of guy. He's like black and white. This is cut or dry. But one of the things that he was very insistent on was that for people that are quote unquote not Jewish, he was like, well, how do you know, right? So his opinion was you just should go ahead and just assume that everyone's Jewish. And as far as mitzvot, as far as treating people, as far as offering blessings, of course, we're not supposed to curse now. But anyways, so in that vein, we can offer condolences, we can offer blessings, but also, the Midrash and the mystical writings within Kabbalah said that these souls that are in a place of, last week we kind of discussed it, and if you have time to come to some of the teachings later on after Shabbat, I think the teachings and lessons are usually about 7 o'clock after the going toward Mariv in the evening. Go ahead and try not to miss it, but it should be available upon request or on YouTube later on. But last week we discussed about the afterlife and the Jewish understanding of it, and there does seem to be a time where Kaddish can help alleviate souls from pain or and also the Midrash in the Talmud discusses that Hashem basically gives everyone a rest, even in Gehenom, that everybody, whether Jew or Gentile, that basically Gehenom, all the suffering in Gehenom stops on Shabbat. That's a good thing, right? Because we're all kind of headed to some type of degree. As Yeshua says, we should try not to spend not even 1 hour more than we need to. But getting on to the Torah portion, I just wanted to touch base real quick about the overall message was that we're in a relationship with Hashem, right? It's not a relationship where some people seem to have a religious idea that God is love and he's going to give you good stuff, right? He's like a celestial Santa Claus, and but he wants a relationship with us. And if we treat him a certain way, he's going to return that treatment back to us. And if we bless him, we're going to be blessed. If we curse him, we're going to be cursed, right? So there's a statement that we have up on our wall. I'm not sure where I got it. I don't know if I came up with it, in Zapha 1:1, or if it was something I gleaned from the different writings. But it says to achieve grace or to receive grace, pursue obedience, right? And that seems to be the overarching message sometimes of the Torah, is that if you want to receive grace, if you want to receive blessings, then pursue obedience. Now, Hashem gives us the opportunity to do teshuvah. And doing teshuvah is doing following the mitzvot, right? There seems to be these curses are put into people that are that Hashem's trying to get their attention, right? As a congregation, we're definitely going through, hopefully with Yom Kippur and Yom Teruah and Rosh Hashanah on the way, Hashem will kind of write a new chapter in our congregation. But this year seems to be one of introspection, of one of healing, one of medical issues and all sorts of stuff that's going on in our congregation. But we're it's enlightening. It's also helpful to see that we're all kind of going through it together, right, as a family. And this goes also into our nation of Israel, right? We can learn what we're doing together. Hopefully, we can help each other carry the burden, right? And so Hashem is saying, look, don't get to the place where Hasbe Shalom, the worst of the worst of the curses were eating your children and the horrible things that were written in there. Is that I think as a parent, he just goes right to the nth level, the worst of the worst, right? And Hashem is saying, look, don't let it get to the place where I have to take this and bring this to your remembrance. We have in our nation's history a situation where we didn't do our job as parents, and each successive generation got worse and worse and worse until Hashem allowed the Torah to be found again, and then Israel was renewed. So let us hope that we get the blessings. So either when we get blessings or cursings, they're determined on our actions, right? And I just want to bring up real quick, Rabbi Nachman of Breslov teaching about his grandfather, the Baal Shem Tov, had an idea that we're not going to be perfect. We should strive for perfection, but we should pursue perfection. But if we have something we're struggling with, we should intend in our mind that we should try to overcome it. And we should try to not do a particular sin. We should try to be obedient. And a person that is trying to be obedient, it is very similar to a situation where Hashem is working with that person. Now, looking from outside, we don't see what Hashem is doing on the inside. But eventually, if you put that want to enough, Hashem is going to help us to overcome whatever the situation is. Or it may be, or Hashem may send it to a situation where it may become worse. But even that may be a blessing because Hashem has given us the opportunity to overcome. When Hashem spoke to Cain, he said, sin is crouching at the door, but I've given you the power to overcome it. So he expects us to overcome it, right? So Shabbat Shalom. Today is a day we can receive blessings and cursings. So we have the opportunity to receive blessings. So choose life today. Shabbat shalom.